Something that I've learned that's been so valuable to me understanding what it truly means to align with a desired outcome, aka manifest. You're not really creating anything. You're aligning with the frequency of a potential that already exists. And you're doing so without resistance. And one of the things that I've learned about this whole process is that you don't have to fight yourself. There are tools and techniques that you can use to help you overcome the resistance that you may be feeling while aligning yourself with the potential outcome that you desire to experience, aka manifesting. One tool that has been extremely helpful for me is a technique that allows you to face what it is that you might be resistant about. You basically sit in a meditative state. You tune into what it is that you don't feel comfort about, whatever you're angry about, agitated about, doubtful about, fearful about, and really face it. But act as if you're like a fly on the wall. You know, you're observing yourself. Close your eyes and conjure up a scene of what you do when you're experiencing that moment of trigger. You know, what thoughts do you think? What do you actually do when you're in that moment? How do you feel in your body? What behaviors do you execute as a result of that? And then just sit with that for like maybe 2 minutes. And then from there, ask yourself, okay, if this scenario happens again, if I were my highest self, how would I handle it? Now, remember, you're acting from your highest self, and you're going to play out the same exact scenario of what you got agitated or triggered by. And you're going to deal with it from your highest self. What thoughts would you think from your highest self? What emotions would you feel? Would you be calm in your body? Would you feel a sense of relief? Would you be non-reactive? Would you not have a feeling about it at all? You know, play out that scene as if the same thing that triggered you would happen again, but this time you're being your highest self. Right? And then ask yourself, if I were to replace this triggering scenario with my ideal scenario, what would that ideal scenario look like? Like, what do you prefer to have happened? What do you prefer would be the dynamic? And you sit with it. And you live in the end of that dynamic. Who are you being with that ideal scenario? What are the kind of thoughts you think? What are the interactions you have? What are the inspired actions you take? What is your quality of life like? How do you feel inside your body? These are the things that give you the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as Neville teaches us. So you're giving yourself a taste of that, and you sit with that for a few minutes and notice how you feel in your body. Now, I suggest you repeat this process a few times, at least 3 to 4 times, starting with the thing that triggered you and how you really feel about it. And you observe yourself and how you're being, how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and you just observe it. And you do it until you just observe it, and it's not any worse than what it was. It's not any better than what it was. It just is, right? You just watch yourself and say, okay, it is. It just is. But do every angle of it. Don't leave anything out. How do you really feel? What are the thoughts that really cross your mind when you're in this state? You know, be real with yourself, because if you face all of it, it no longer has to be the boogeyman. That's the bar. Then, again, sit with that for a few minutes. Make that neutral. It is what it is. And then say, if this thing happens again, because 9 times out of 10, you will assume that it will happen again because that's part of your program. You're probably not there yet to jump from one extreme to the next. So assume that it will happen again. If I'm being my highest self and this thing happens again, what will my highest self do? How would I act? How would I think? How would I feel? How would I be? And sit with it. And I'm sure if you're operating out of your highest self, you feel way better, more secure, less triggered, or probably completely unbothered by that same scenario. And then sit with that for a few minutes. And then finally, replace that with your ideal scenario. What do I prefer to have taken place? Or how do I prefer to exist? What is my ideal scenario? And you play out that scene of living in your end, your wish fulfilled on that topic. When I tell you, this technique has been a game changer for me and everybody I know, because it literally allows you to not fight yourself, not suppress, and not be delulu. You don't have to be delulu. You don't have to be delusional when you're manifesting. You can be fully and totally accepting of where you are, of what story you've been telling, and the resistance you've been holding against what it is you're truly wanting to experience. But you can also work through it, because remember, your beliefs are just practiced. You have them because you've practiced them for so long, which means that if you continue to repeat them, they're going to stay in place. And if they're working against you, what are you doing, right? It's okay though. This technique is one of the many techniques that I use that helps me tell a new story, so that I can form a new belief, so that I can be my highest self and express a better dynamic from whatever it is I'm currently living that isn't pleasing to me. So you don't have to be delulu. You want to be fully accepted, because what you resist will persist. If you fight against what is, you're going to get more of it. That is a law. Why? Because the universe doesn't know right or wrong, good or bad, I want, I don't want. It just knows wherever your attention goes, it's going to give you more of that. And especially if your attention is on something and you're emotional about it, because emotions are energy in motion. So you're charging up whatever you're emotional about, whatever that topic is. And so you're saying, I don't want this, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of this. But you're giving it life, whether you realize it or not. So if you can get to a place where you're not so charged up on that topic, then you can be neutral or fully accepting that it is what it is, and still decide who you want to be in the process, and still decide that if I'm able to act from my highest self, which you are, it's always a choice, then I'm going to get this thing, because it's going to flow naturally. That's where your confidence come in, when you start practicing being your higher self. Start practicing the beliefs of that higher version of you, and then it becomes natural. Then you don't have to fight anymore.